These are the interviews from Chat City on Preston FM. Don't forget, our show is live weekdays from 10 till noon. Tune in and become part of our family. So I'm joined in the studio this morning by Karen Martyniuk. Karen's come in to talk to us a little bit about International Women's Day, which I will confess I know a little bit about already. But Karen is the lady with all the facts. She's the expert this morning. Good morning, Karen. How are you? Oh, I'm making terrible amateur radio errors here. You can tell I normally do pre-recorded shows because what I didn't do then was switch Karen's mic on.
Oh, right. Well, that's good.
Good morning, Karen.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Well, it's live radio, everybody. I'm really just kind of swinging along here with you guys. But International Women's Day, Karen, tell us some more.
Well, it's been celebrated for well over 100 years. 1908, it was actually celebrated on the 3rd of May. But since 1914, it's been the 8th of March every year. Some people do get confused. And I know people kind of, if somebody's celebrating something on a particular day, they assume that's it, but it's not. And this year, the UN's theme is equality for women is progress for all. And I think that kind of, there's a bit of a rah there because that's fantastic. And I think there's lots of reasons to be cheerful and celebrate International Women's Day. I mean, over the years I've organised things in community, and you quite often get men saying, "All right then, so when's International Men's Day?" And my answer to that is every other day.
I was, because part of this morning's, I was doing a little bit of research. Obviously, I found out about I'm getting it wrong again, World Book Day, which was the mini invasion of children on my bus route this morning. It was quite chaotic. But there is actually an International Man's Day. It's off at the end of the year in November. I know Chris Flux, who is part of Men Against Violence, Preston Men Against Violence, they set up a lot of
activities
for that, but that's back in the end of the year, and we've got lovely March the 8th.
And now it's been going a lot longer.
It has, I know we were speaking off air that one of the first International Women's Days was marked with Germany giving the women the right to vote.
There's been some fantastic things going on through history, and we forget often, don't we, that it hasn't been that long really. It might not have been in our lifetime that we were given the right to vote, but it is kind of in pretty recent history, and we do forget that, and we do forget that we did have to fight and campaign, and even in Preston there was lots of suffragettes around in Preston. I love Edith
my
Rigby.
favourite.
Have you read a book?
I haven't read a book, but I've read lots of her history.
Book. It's called My Aunt Edith by a niece, which is fabulous. So,
I was at a ladies' book club recently, Lady Fest Preston's book club, and we were thinking about trying to find that, but I'm afraid we didn't. So I'll just
make a copy if you want to buy.
Oh, definitely. I'll definitely mention it to Fiona and the ladies.
Emmeline Pankhurst came to Preston, and she was disguised as a man and snuck into a meeting because she would have been arrested if they'd have seen her. That's in the book as well. There's lots of amazing stuff in there. But I mean, reasons for women to be proud and celebrate today. I know you had Gina Lazenby on recently.
Yes, Gina.
And I know Gina, I've been to an event that she was running, and she's been kind of asked to go to do lots of events. I know she was on her way, I think, to do something in either California or Sydney when she came.
She came in, she was flying through, she'd been in Chester, I think, and she flew through on her way here, stopped off for a chat with Huey, and then she was jetting off to New York afterwards.
I know, it's crazy.
It was amazing.
But she does a lot of stuff around feminine leadership. And I think sometimes people confuse feminist and feminism with feminine. I'm all for feminism, but I do think sometimes it kind of went a bit too far, and it put a lot of people off, particularly men. But feminine leadership qualities can be in anybody, because a lot of men actually deny some parts of themselves. Some women do as well, but there's a lot of richness from feminine leadership skills and feminine leadership qualities, and so Gina's actually going out there and sharing that, and people are sitting up and taking notice. And I know when I went to the event, it was actually at her home, she was sharing some materials that she was going to use, and I can't remember which school it was that she was doing the work for. It was either Harvard Business School or something like that in Sydney. And so she was testing the materials. And I just thought, that's a feminine leadership skill, because to share something and to ask people to test it and to give their feedback, you have to kind of you have to open your heart to that, don't you? You have to kind of oh gosh, bare your soul almost. And that's a really good quality, I think. And we are seeing more and more men kind of, doing that and opening up and saying, look, being hard-nosed and, hard-nosed businessman can work in some instances, but actually we do need to kind of blend.
It's definitely what it says, equality for women is progress for all.
Absolutely, it definitely is. So Gina's leading national dialogue on issues of feminine leadership. But I was looking at the TED Talks. I don't know if you've ever come across the TED Talks.
I love a good TED Talk.
Fantastic, aren't they?
Lose hours of my life on their website.
You go on one, don't you, and that's it. You just disappear. Well, a lot of TED Talks are very inspirational, very motivational, but you can have, things about health, things about business. But I've just noticed the top 5 TED Talks, 3 of them are from women.
Oh, that's amazing. For listeners who aren't as obsessed about TED Talks as we are, TED Talks are really nice, short talks. They're typically around about 5 minutes or so. Yeah. And when TED... And forgive me, listeners, I don't know what the acronym is for.
Yeah. I think it's something to do with education. Originally it was, anyway.
Educate. So when they hold an event, they don't necessarily set an overriding theme. And you can go down and you can watch at the event all these different speakers, and they'll come on and they'll talk 5 minutes about something. So you can watch how I became the international yo-yo champion and how power posing and body language affects your mental capacity.
And then a number of ones in between.
And everything in between. But they do upload it to YouTube, www.youtube.com, and then you can put in the little search box TED Talks.
Or just Google TED Talks.
Just talk TED Talks. Yeah. And they are fabulous short ones. One of the set of events that really kind of piqued my interest on TED was that they do a lot of international women's talks, and you can hold your own TED Talk, your own women's TED Talk, which is great. And like you've just said, the top 3, the best talks are female talks.
And I don't know if the lady from Todmorden, from the Incredible Edibles, I don't know if you've seen that one.
No, not that one.
I really would recommend it. She's got a really northern accent. She's from Todmorden, which isn't that far away from here, really. And she's talking about a project that they set up called Incredible Edibles, and it is just awesome, because she says, we did it round a kitchen table, and we did it all without a strategy document. And it's like, yes, but it is awesome, and it does get a lot of hits. So I would be surprised if she wasn't up in the top 10 at least. But other things like the Olympics, there's far more women entrepreneurs these days. Yeah. Women are kind of, getting up there and doing it, and still, men are still managing to kind of run a home and, nurture a family at the same time as well.
Yeah. Do you think that blending of home and family and the increase of technology has allowed that to happen a bit more?
I think it has happened for a very, very long time. I think nowadays what is really nice is women are actually acknowledging that years ago we may have kind of pushed ourselves to breakdown point. I think now we're saying, hey, I'm gonna combine that. I'll work 3 days a week, and then I've got more time for my family, and kind of owning that part of themselves that they, you should be proud if you're you've got a family and you're nurturing a family. It's a really important role, but there's so much emphasis on kind of going out in the world and working and all the rest of it. But it's nice to see more women balancing that and trying to make sure that they balance it as well. So yeah.
You know what? I would really like to see more women just celebrating the fact I am raising and I'm creating some small humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just lifting these guys up, and that in itself is an amazing achievement. When you hear of scientists cloning sheep and raising animals from that's like, I've made a creature, and you find thousands of women doing this every day. I'm only a mum.
Oh gosh, it's like saying only a volunteer, isn't it? No way.
No, you're amazing. Is there anything? Are there any events that you've picked up in the area that you'd want to share?
Yeah, I was just looking, and there are events all around the country. There's an International Women's Day website, but some of the stuff I was looking at, there's pamper events, there's empowerment events, craft things, personal development, music, and I noticed several are focusing on read, relax, and recharge. But that's possibly because it's so close to World Book Day as well. But again, that's it's really a good idea to just take a book, sit down, relax, because we are are so busy these days, and just to kind of do something that helps take you away from it all, or helps you to kind of empower yourself or move your personal development on. But I noticed in Preston, well, I know in Clayton Brook, because that's where I hail from, we have over the years organised several International Women's Day events.
Yeah.
My favourite one of all time was Reclaim the Night.
Oh, I've heard about those.
And we kind of went around the estate, and that was really empowering, very emotional. One of the women that came on that walk had been raped on the estate.
So obviously I know about Reclaim the Night, and for those of you who don't, Reclaim the Night is a really lovely movement where you go out and you make the nighttime environment
feel
more safe. I've seen people yarn bomb and put paper lanterns
we
up.
did lanterns, and actually a few men came. They kind of saw us, because there was about 50 of us. We'd kind of worked on it for a few weeks. We'd done it with a group of young people, young women, and we'd done a banner that said Reclaim the Night out of batik and stuff, and there was a group from Brookfield came, and the young people from Clayton Brook, and lots of women. But we kind of walked around the estate just reclaiming it for ourselves, and feel, because a lot of women do actually feel really scared about going out at night. And we'd been to one in Lancaster a few years before, and that had been a really powerful one. But the police had organised it, helped us to organise it. And so we were only allowed to go down the main streets. So as soon as it had finished, half of the women said, right, let's leg it down the back streets, because that's where you need to reclaim the night. There's lots of well-lit areas. That wasn't what it was about. You need to feel safe where it's dark and where it's not so well lit. So when we did it on Clayton Brook, the woman that had been raped, at the time there wasn't a lot of lighting, and the community got together. I mean, we're talking about 20 odd years ago, maybe 30 years ago, when she was raped, but there wasn't very much lighting, and the police had felt that had contributed to the fact that no one heard, no one saw, thankfully he did get he got caught the very next day and was arrested, and he's still serving very lengthy sentence. So there is hope out there, girls, if you're listening and it's happened to you. But we reclaimed the area that she had been taken on that night, and she was just so moved, and she felt so supported and so nurtured by the women there, and we were all really moved and really emotional by it. But it was just a really healing journey. It was really nice. But this Saturday, to lift the mood a little bit,
the mood up. This
Saturday, because it is International Women's Day on Saturday, 8th of March, there's a pamper day at Clayton Brook Community House, but I believe you've got Michelle coming in.
She's we spoke to her this morning. She's flying down, driving responsibly and safely. But she's on her way down now, and she's going to.
Well, I know Michelle doesn't drive, so someone else will be chauffeuring her down.
Oh, that's good. That's okay then, because that makes me feel better for ringing her on the phone this morning.
She'll feel like royalty.
Oh, good.
But she's coming in later to tell you all about that. And Broadfield Community are also having a pamper event. I think there's nails being done and hair and all sorts of things like that. But I notice Preston's Harris Museum. Wow, what have they got on for us?
Quite a bit going on.
They've got something called Women of Substance from 11 o'clock till 3. There's something going on right through the day, and it's all free. Women of Substance, talking about Edith Rigby and a lady called Patty. Now then, what's she called? Patty Mayer. Now, I don't know anything about Patty Mayer. If you do, you can tell me after.
I'm not sure, but we can do a quick Google.
There's a tour of ceramic and glass gallery, a talk about domestic abuse, then, now, and the future from Valerie Wise. She's the chief exec of Preston's Domestic Abuse Services, and she's going to kind of focus on how things can change. And I do believe, I mean, I was in a refuge myself for 6 months, and I know that, things can change, and the future can look brighter. And I don't consider myself a victim. I moved from victim to survivor, and now I'm victorious. So, but again, in the Harris, there's another talk on I'm a Scientist, Talk to Me.
Yeah, that's the science girls. I've met the science girls. They're very cool.
Looks fab. Postcard making workshop, Women of Discover, a Preston tour, family history session, the wonderful women in my family, and a presentation and discussion called The Girl Effect. Finishing
Amazing.
It off at 3
That's
o'clock.
Awesome.
So yeah, I think I'll be heading over to the Harris on Saturday.
That sounds like an action-packed Saturday.
I've got to fit some coffee and cake in as well.
Oh, always. Self-care is very important. Very important. It's been lovely talking to you this morning.
And you.
Thank you very much for coming in. Thanks for listening to our podcasts. But don't forget, Chat City is live weekdays from 10 till noon on 103.2 Preston FM.